Welcome back to Truck Tech, everyone. You know, this week we're in Birmingham, Alabama, where Shell is showing us the third version, the Shell 3.0 Starship. This truck is a test bed, really, for Shell to test out its own oils and lubricants and things like that. But they've also created an awful lot of great data that has helped the trucking industry figure out how to run less expensively and more efficiently. We're going to talk to several people in today's show that will give us more details on that, including Mike Roeth from the North American Council for Freight Efficiency, who will kind of look at the whole idea of now using natural gas and the new Cummins 15-liter natural gas engine in the Starship. Hope you enjoy the show. Heather Duffy, you are a marketing specialist with the Shell Starship program.
I am.
This is the third one. We're now at 3.0. Tell me a little bit overall what Shell has learned so far and what you've been able to transfer to fleets.
So the Starship program started as a test program for readily available technology for fleets to learn what they can adopt to help reduce their carbon emissions as well as total cost of ownership. So we started in 2018 with our first cross-country test run. We learned a lot from that. One of the things that we tested with that one was our new low viscosity engine oils that were released in 2016. So that was a big part of why we did the program to begin with. But as we've continued to go and grow the program, we've been able to work with a lot of different partners like Cummins and Bridgestone for tires, and really learn a lot about fuel efficiency changes that fleets can make that may seem small but have a big impact on the overall operations cost of a fleet.
Right. So one of the things that that's new this time around is using the Cummins X15N engine. First two runs were diesel engines, and now you've got the opportunity to run both compressed natural gas as well as renewable natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
There's some differences. Obviously, those engines burn hotter, and so you don't get quite the fuel economy, but actually you really did pretty well, right?
Yes. So we were able to achieve 9 miles per gallon fully loaded at 80,000 pounds. That was all over California, up hills and over normal terrain that a truck would encounter. That was the biggest thing, going from a 12-liter to a 15-liter natural gas engine was making sure that it has the torque and towing capacity that a diesel engine has, because that was maybe one of the biggest drawbacks from the 12-liter. So we were excited to test out the new Cummins 15-liter big bore natural gas engine, and it performed really well. And 9 miles per gallon is a benchmark. It's well above benchmark for diesel for the average for North America, but it's also, for a natural gas engine that runs hotter, it's an excellent fuel economy number.
One of the things that you mentioned about using commercially available technologies, when you started the program, and you have developed partnerships along the way. At this point, I guess the question has to be, you're up to the third version. Absent a new powertrain, I mean, be it battery electric, which again, right now probably not greatest for long haul, or fuel cell, which still has some issues to work through, not so much on the technology side, but infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Are we looking at sort of the best has been gained from this program now? I mean, is there much more to learn?
That's it's one of the questions we ask ourselves with every iteration of the Starship, right? Like, what's next? What can we do better? I do think that we've learned a lot over the 6 years of the program. I think there's also a lot more to learn, but one of the things we're learning is that some of that technology is just not there yet. So if we were to switch to a hydrogen or a electric vehicle, it may be a different version of the Starship. It may not be what you see today. It may be that we wait a little while to see if the infrastructure catches up. It's kind of the age-old chicken or egg scenario where it's nobody's going to buy the trucks until there's the infrastructure. Nobody's going to build the infrastructure until people buy the trucks.
Right.
So we recognize that and understand that that's a constant challenge in the industry. So we keep our eye on trends and what's happening and what we can do to help evolve the fleet industry. But for now, we're going to focus on the natural gas truck and just enjoy the numbers that we've gotten.
Right. I have to think too that when you see things like Super Truck out there and they're coming on their third run now, third generation, the next ones, and they will use fuel cells. You're not really a competitor to that, but there is, and those are concept trucks where, you can actually, and they do apply things, for example, Cascadia is using, some of the new Cascadia is using some of the aero gains that showed up in the Super Truck too. So, you do see things out there that make you think, well, yeah, they did find a way to apply that. In your case, though, you're more of a test bed. You're more to convey information that you gain. You're not going to build trucks. That's not what you're going to do, right?
No, Shell is not in the business of building trucks for sure.
So
we call it our lab on wheels. It's a way that we can test out different technologies of our own. We've got all of our lubricants running in the truck. We've got our natural gas 5W30 Shell Rotella product running in the engine. We've got our Spirax transmission fluids. We've got all of our greases running are in the truck. So, for that, it's a way that we can test out our own products, but also, like I said, readily available technology that fleets can adopt today to make changes today, like the Bridgestone steer tires that are wider, have a low rolling resistance, that, things like that, engine oil, low rolling resistance tires, those are fairly easy for fleets to adopt now with their current fleet of trucks. That can affect a pretty big change in their savings from a fuel economy and total cost of ownership.
And yeah, I was going to say, if it's not TCO, it's nothing, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Really what it is. All right. Well, Heather, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Kevin Otto, you are with the North American Council for Freight Efficiency.
Yes.
Thanks for spending a couple of minutes with us. Really need to play dictionary here. I need to understand, and our audience needs to understand, a term that isn't really common to many people, and that is freight ton efficiency. This is one of the measurements that you at the NACFE have looked at in all three versions of the Shell Starship. So go ahead. Tell us what that means.
So the traditional way of measuring efficiency with a vehicle that's hauling goods from point A to point B is miles per gallon. Another way to think about it is freight ton efficiency. How many tons of freight have you moved from one spot to another versus how much fuel have you used? So the efficiency is about how efficiently you're moving the pounds of freight as opposed to the truck.
That's why when the Shell unit, or when the Starship goes out on runs, it goes out full at 80,000 pounds.
Right.
And that's where you're able to get a good measurement. Now, obviously, if this was less than truckload or something like that, it wouldn't count as much.
It doesn't count. I mean, LTLs have their place in the marketplace, of course, but in terms of efficiently moving freight, a freight train is a better way, probably from a freight ton efficiency standpoint, to move freight, as opposed to a truck. But 70% of the freight that's moved here in the United States is actually done by trucks. So freight ton efficiency is very important for that part of the business.
So what did you find in your latest study? You analyzed the freight ton efficiency. What did you find, and was it a big change from the second generation truck?
From the second generation truck to the third generation truck, it was a little bit of improvement, but not as huge as the previous ones. But there was still some gains in efficiency due to lightweighting, better tire efficiencies, and things like that. So they use less fuel than they did before. Now they're using natural gas, which is a little bit different in terms of the measure.
Sure.
So you have to take that into account as part of it as well.
It does bring up a question, though. We've watched this truck. It hasn't changed a lot from the outside. It looked very futuristic when it first appeared on the scene. Now it doesn't look maybe as futuristic. But the question really comes up is, has this program proved as much as it can? And what kind of future do you see for it?
Well, I think the future for a program like Shell Starship is what kind of powertrains might be even more efficient for moving freight around than what they've had so far. They made a lot of aerodynamic improvements, rolling resistance improvements, and some of those other things. But if you have a powertrain that's way more efficient, say a battery electric drive system, as an example, is much more efficient than an internal combustion engine. The bad news with battery electric is you got to carry batteries along with you, so it hurts how much freight you can haul, right?
Right.
But but the equation still probably works out with battery electric that it's a little more efficient than the diesel.
And at this point, as you say, you're not really able to get the range on battery electric without loading
That's
up
correct.
too many batteries. Therefore,
Yes.
there goes your freight efficiency right out the window.
Correct.
I guess you have a fuel cell as a possibility as well. But the question really,
Right.
I think, becomes when is it prime time for those things? You know, we used to hear fuel cells were 10 years away. Maybe they're not that far away now, but they're still out there a ways.
They're still out there a ways because, frankly, when it comes to fuel cells in hydrogen, you have to have a way to get the hydrogen to the truck.
Right.
And there's really not a way to do that today,
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes.
Right.
Whereas battery electric, the technology's there, the trucks are actually for sale. The bad news is they're not very suitable for long haul because, just like you said, you can't package enough battery on the vehicle to take that freight very far. But you
Yeah.
can sure do it for local deliveries and things like that pretty darn efficiently.
So very quickly, just to wrap up with this, using natural gas in the new Cummins X15N engine, obviously there's learnings to be had from that.
Right.
You know, when this was running in California, you ran it mostly on renewable natural gas, which obviously improves the emissions profile. Quickly, what were the biggest learnings that you found with this new engine?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is Cummins has with their X15N has come up with an engine that is a lot closer to diesel-like power delivery, response, and those kinds of things. So you can, whereas their previous engines were either too small or not responsive enough to actually do the job.
Yeah.
Whereas the X15N is a much better match for the comparable diesel product.
Right.
So, and therefore, it's a little more suitable to that marketplace than the previous engines were.
Sure. All right, Kevin, thank you so much for spending time with us.
You're quite welcome.
I'm with Mike Roeth, who is the Executive Director of the North American Council for Freight Efficiency. Mike coined a term a while back called the messy middle, explaining just where all of these technologies, be it electrification, hydrogen, natural gas, where they all are going to ultimately net out. Mike, thanks for spending a few minutes with us. I think it's really important just to focus on natural gas for right now. You know, we came to Alabama so that we could get a look at the Shell Starship again. It's raining on my shirt. But the thought being that, you know, natural gas looks like it might be able to step away from that 1% to 2% penetration.
Yeah, so you know, we know natural gas as an industry. We started to scale it about 10 years ago. There were some issues, and quite honestly, diesel price dropped significantly and kind of let it go away. And so we went back to diesel, and now we're looking at electrification and other things. But there is definitely a part of the market where natural gas will make a lot of sense, especially over the next 2 decades, I would say, Alan.
So when we talk about natural gas, at this point, you know, one of the drawbacks, honestly, has been you've only had kind of a 12-liter engine out there, good for, you know, certain use cases, but not uphills, not long haul, things like that. Now Cummins has come with the engine that is powering the Starship, but also beginning production now for, I think, PACCAR first, and then Daimler in 26. We've got an engine now that claims 500 horsepower, 1,850 pound-feet of torque. That's diesel stuff. That's diesel power, really.
That's exactly right. So the natural gas engines we in the past, 9-liter and 12-liter, I mean, they were good for regional haul, mostly day cab, predictable routes where you may not have mountains to deal with, you may not have heavy loads to deal with. And those engines really did the job, but they didn't meet all of what's needed in trucking. And so now, as we're looking at decarbonizing, really the hardest route to get there will be the long haul, whether or not it returns to base or whether it's over the road. So day cabs versus sleepers, and natural gas just very well might be that solution for some of those carriers who want to, you know, decarbonize, be sustainable, and so forth. Another key element is tanks. So, you know, 10 years ago we thought we would have to have liquefied natural gas with its expensive tanks and challenges, and we've been able to package compressed natural gas tanks given the efficiency of the truck to get that 5, 6, 7, 800 miles on a single fill, which is really important to these carriers.
Well, the talk now with this Cummins engine is, 1,000, 1,200 miles is not out of the question. The other piece of this that seems most interesting, though, is as we talk about decarbonization, you get that, 20% break with petroleum-based natural gas. If you go to renewable natural gas or RNG, which seems to be the focus here, you're talking potentially 300% below if it's dairy waste.
Yeah, so that's a very good point. And, not all RNG is not the same. So, the dairy waste is really the worst for the environment and the best for burning in a truck. So, renewable natural gas really gives you a double benefit with the fact that we're not letting that methane get out into the atmosphere, and we're taking it and preventing using petroleum, which also puts particulates and carbon into the air. So it gets that double benefit. A couple of questions, though, is how much RNG is really available? I mean, there's only so much dairy waste. There's only so many cows. There's only so many landfills to get that waste off of. But come on, I mean, we're going to have waste forever, and we might as well use it this way.
Well, Clean Energy Fuels talks about potentially 40 billion gallons. I mean, that's the kind of numbers that they're talking about. It's 98% of all the natural gas in California is RNG, close to 80% nationally, according to Hexagon Agility. I guess I'm wondering at this point, between the potential for RNG, and I don't want to be Pollyannish about it, but between the potential for RNG and this new engine, do you buy the 10% penetration number that we're hearing for that engine?
10%'s big. I mean, I even heard numbers of 20%.
So have I.
So I think those are kind of maybe questionable. We at NACFE, I mean, we work really hard to help the industry understand the best duty cycles for all of these technologies, whether it be battery electric, hydrogen fuel cell, engine hydrogen, et cetera, et cetera. And so we think the best place for natural gas are those longer distances. That is difficult. Now, let's face it, for a fleet to move to natural gas, they got a year of planning, get the trucks in order, they've got to get infrastructure in place, unless they're using public infrastructure, where there is some, not a lot, but some. So they have some, there's a period of time to go there, and then you can only replace so many trucks a year.
Sure.
So, you really want to have as a fleet a 10-year roadway at least. So where will we be with battery electric? Where will we be with hydrogen fuel cell? What will be the regulations and the dynamics around zero emission? I mean, we understand that a bit right now, but all that is up for change. So I think, we say that, you said that NACFE is, really thinks and understands what the future is going to be. I'm not sure we are. I mean, I'd say hold on loosely to what we think we know. Things like battery costs might surprise us. And some other things from a technology standpoint. So, we think natural gas works for heavy-duty tractors and long distance, and there's probably enough time to take advantage of that in this messy middle.
Last question for you, and I guess it's really more of an opinion, and that is, do you see this as a transitional move, that is RNG or compressed natural gas, or is this something that actually fits in the pantheon as we move forward?
That's a great question. And so we believe that the future will be and can be battery electric trucks and hydrogen fuel cell trucks from completely renewable fuels. So zero emission truck, zero emission fuel. Now, whether that's, whether that might still not replace some mining trucks and some this, that, and the other, logging trucks and so forth. So let's call it 95% can be solved. The question then is a very good one about how does natural gas fit? There's still a combustion process. There's still some, emissions, even though they're very, very low. And the RNG piece is quite important to keep our eyes on and not move solely to compressed natural gas. So could RNG trucks be part of the ultimate solution and be there? Very well, maybe could be.
Good. Mike, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I love this. Thank you very much, Alan.
Well, we hope you enjoyed learning more about the Starship 3.0 today. The opportunity for Shell to really help the industry is pretty apparent here. And we don't know exactly when you'll see Shell Starship 4.0 or if you ever will, but the gains that they've made over the years of working on this program are notable, and we hope you enjoyed today's show.